it portrayed this kind of dark, devil-worshipping, orgy-ridden den of human sacrifice, which it wasn't. Eventually, of course, it was Mussolini who kicked his little crew out.
For many of the people at the Abbey, what they did there blighted the rest of their lives. Deserted by Crowley, Leah Herzig sank into prostitution. Other disciples went mad. One committed suicide. The dream was over. Crowley was now public enemy number one, the wickedest man in the world. Crowley's attempt to start a new religion in the Abbey of Thelema had gone disastrously wrong. His reputation as the wickedest man in the world was sealed. The last years of the great beast's life were spent living from hand to mouth. His fortune was long gone and his disciples had deserted him. He moved from one set of temporary lodgings to another and finally ended up in a boarding house in Hastings. His life of excess had left him with nothing but chronic heroin addiction and infamy.
Cefalù's come and gone, and there's almost like an irony to it that he's come here really where old people die. The great beast 666, the wickedest man in the world, is now residing in a boarding house, you know, with a lot of other old people. He's been through absolute hell and back, you know. He's danced with the devil and he's come back again. And is he a wise old man, or is he a sad, lonely heroin addict in a room?
In 1934, Crowley began a libel case against a writer who described him as a black magician. He was desperate for money and believed he might be awarded damages. Examples of Crowley's pornographic poetry were read out in court, and then the wife of Rao Loveday, the young man who died in the Abbey of Thelema, gave evidence of Crowley's depravity. The judge was appalled, saying that in 40 years of justice he had never heard of such wickedness. Crowley lost the case and ended up bankrupt. But even after such a humiliating defeat, his extraordinary magnetism was undiminished.
After a court case that Crowley loses, a young woman called Deirdre McKellum comes up to him and says, "I want to have your child," basically. And Crowley agrees, and they go off together, and they perform a ritual to have a magical son, a sort of a magical heir for Crowley. And they perform various rituals, and they do have this son, and his name is Aleister Crowley.
Well, after he took me in his arms on the doorstep, that beastly lodging which had lace curtains in the window, I don't know where it was now, he said, "I want you and I want your child." Well, I wanted a child, and I just started from then. Then he came round and saw me off, and he had to give up drugs, pretty well give up drugs for 3 months, because he couldn't conceive very easily. Well, I suppose I conceived, he did the other thing, but...
That was the only child who, in the everyday concept, I think he really loved, whom he wanted to see have a future. It wasn't until the end of his life that I really think he came into contact with the kind of love most men would have wanted.
Perhaps for the first time, Crowley was beginning to question what his life had really amounted to.
Have I ever done anything of value, or am I a mere trifler, existing by a series of shifts of one kind or another, a wastrel, a coward, a man of straw? I can find no answer whatsoever, the obvious verdict being guilty every time.
From an early age, Crowley had been obsessed with sex. He came to believe that it was the key to magical fulfillment. So when he wrote in his diary, "Weak erection," he knew that the end was near.
There was no tears pouring down A.C.'s face whatsoever. We talked the whole day before, and the whole next day that he died, until he went into a coma, which he did very quietly. And then the day after, when he did die, there was this strange thing that happened again with the curtains. very still day, and the curtains blew out across the room, and there was a great peal of thunder, which was, I think, the gods greeting him.
Rotten as I am in 1,000 ways, I have been chosen by the gods to bring to earth the basic word in which mankind will work for the next 2,000 years or so. I assure you, the world is ready for this move.
The great beast died in 1947, and for a decade it seemed all his ideas had died with him. But then his do-what-thou-wilt philosophy found a new home with a generation that was experimenting with free love, drugs, and alternative beliefs. Crowley had